all right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to News Talk on on ABS TV with yours truly, Chris Anu. Waking up in the morning, something happened again in Africa, and of course in West Africa, where another French-sponsored regime was kicked out of power in Gabon. That is the main subject I bring to you today. I want to believe all of you are doing great. Please do me the favor. We didn't announce this outing today, but I'd like you to go ahead and hit your share button. Please go ahead, hit your share button, and let us get the platform saturated. Let's get at least 1,000 people. 1,000 people showing up on this social media platform. I'm talking about Facebook today. I know for those of you watching by way of satellite and Coup TV, you got nothing to do but to tell somebody to tune on and watch the broadcast. So that is what I am going to bring to you today. And of course, I will be opening the phone lines to take your questions too, especially if you are where we call ground zero. Please stay tuned and do not touch your remote. I'll be right back. All right, once more, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We wake up this morning to another coup d'etat in West Africa. Some people say Central Africa. I don't know where you have anything like Central in the four cardinal points. It is either north, south, west, east, and that is exactly what Africa is. But you can, if you like, call it Central Africa. Those are French little curvations that, pull out that little niche called Central Africa to use in describing who dominates power within that little geographical location. So forget about anything called Central Africa. It is West Africa. And Bazonia is in West Africa, not Central Africa. So, but waking up this morning, we learn of the coup in Gabon, another West African country, with the regime taken out by another military. I saw a pathetic video of Ali Bongo pleading that people should go out and make noise, and maybe by some luck, he will be released and his administration will be handed back to him. Unfortunately, that is not being heard, as instead of people pleading for him, people were actually rejoicing, celebrating, dancing on the streets as if they have been liberated and truly liberated. But the days ahead, we are going to see whether the military, as they take on power, actually liberate the people. Ali Bongo and his family have ruled that country for 56 years, ladies and gentlemen. 56 years. The father ruled for 40 years. Omar Bongo, he ruled for 40 years, and Ali came over, ruled 2 terms of 7 years each. He was standing elections to go for another term of 7 years. And he did everything like they do in that little part of Africa, what you call Central Africa. He did exactly what they do there, to rig the elections, to remain in power, even when Ali Bongo could not work. I'd like you to take a look at a short footage here where Ali Bongo is struggling to walk to the polling station, even when the people are cheering. He cannot walk, and yet he just wants to stay in power. In fact, we've learned that he was now preparing his son or daughter to take over Gabon. from father to son, from his own son to, from him to his own son. That's what Ali Bongo was trying to do. Please take a look. Take a look at this footage here.
Salut! Il est là, il est là. On lève les casquettes. On lève les casquettes, on lève les casquettes, on lève les casquettes, on lève les casquettes. On lève les casquettes. Il est là, votre candidat. Yes, yes. Oh, vous êtes bon, vous êtes bon, vous êtes bon.
Now, in that video footage, you see Ali Bongo struggling, a dead man alive, trying to go and campaign to remain in power for another 7 years. That's Ali Bongo. The guy can barely walk. Alone, he had a heart attack a few years ago, and that brought him to the state we find him now. But Ali, in spite of his health situation, his health condition, did not want to leave power. He wanted to stay there another 7 years, and after the 7 years, he will hand over to his son or to the daughter. But the Gabonese military stood up this morning and said that is not going to happen. And ladies and gentlemen, that will take me into the monologue, the talking points for this presentation. We are really hoping that what we see taking place in Africa will descend onto the nation called La République du Cameroon. We hope the military in that country is seeing what is happening in the rest of West and Central Africa. The military coup in Gabon, resulting in the removal of President Ali Bongo, raises significant questions about the country's political stability, democratic aspirations, and its relationship with former colonial power France. With allegations of election rigging and fraud, and the long-standing rule of the Bongo family, the coup has been made with mixed feelings or mixed reactions. Gabon has a complex history marked by political dynasties and a post-colonial struggle for political and economic stability. The Bongo family's uninterrupted rule for 56 years, initially under Omar Bongo and then Ali Bongo, has generated widespread discontent among the Gabonese people. The allegations of election rigging, with attendant censorship on the people and the media, led to the event of today where Ali Bongo was overthrown. The question in the minds of many is whether this coup is a good coup or a bad coup. Assessing the coup as good or bad requires considering multiple perspectives. From the standpoint of democratic principles, the removal of a leader accused of election fraud may be viewed positively. However, the means through which the military assumed power raises concerns about the rule of law and constitutional processes. However, the celebrations of the coup by Gabonese citizens on the streets of Libreville, if anything, are indicative of their desire for change. But It also underscores the volatile nature of the situation in that country. The coup presents an opportunity for Gabon to transition towards a more inclusive and accountable political system. However, the absence of a clear roadmap for the transition and potential power struggles among competing factions within the military could hamper the establishment of a stable and democratic government. The Gabonese population's jubilation at the coup reflects their desire for change and a break from the Bongo dynasty. However, managing popular expectations will be crucial to avoiding disillusionment if the post-coup government fails to deliver immediate improvements in governance, economic conditions, and social welfare. The military's intervention undermines the rule of law and constitutional processes in Gabon, no doubt about that. Building a sustainable democracy will therefore require a quick return, to constitutional governance that ensures free and fair elections and the strengthening of state institutions to prevent future political crises in the country. France, the former colonial power, has for all these years retained a significant influence in its former African colonies, including Gabon, of course. The Bongo family's close ties with French political and business elites have led to accusations of neo-colonialism and economic exploitation of the people of Gabon. Gabon possesses substantial oil reserves, and France has traditionally been a major economic partner of Gabon. The coup may disrupt existing economic agreements and raise questions about the future of French investments in Gabon. France faces a delicate diplomatic situation too in Gabon. It must balance its support for democratic principles and the rule of law with its economic interests and historical ties. France's response to the coup in Gabon will shape its relations with the new government and its standing in the continent as a whole, especially at a time when the French have been kicked out. The Gabonese military may choose to maintain a working relationship with France, recognizing the importance of economic and diplomatic ties. However, this would require negotiations and compromises between the military government and French officials to ensure a mutually beneficial relationship. Again, a mutually beneficial relationship. Alternatively, like in Niger, Burkina Faso and others of recent, the Gabonese military could adopt a more nationalist, militant stance, seeking to distance itself from perceived French interference and exploitation too. In this scenario, the new government might pursue policies aimed at reducing French influence, renegotiating economic agreements, and diversifying international partnerships. Given the lack of a clear roadmap for the transition, there is a risk of prolonged political instability and power struggles within Gabon. This could lead to a fragmented and a weak government, making it difficult to establish stable diplomatic relations, including those with the French. At the continental level, referring to the AU, the African Union, and regional bodies such as the Economic Community of Central African States, ECOWAS, like ECOWAS in West Africa, may have to be called upon, to play crucial roles in determining the legitimacy of the new government and providing support for a peaceful transition. AU and ECOWAS involvement can help ensure respect for democratic principles and adherence to the rule of law. However, it depends on how they play the politics. A fortnight ago, ECOWAS and the AU shouted down on the Niger generals who plotted a coup and threatened to invade Niger. But it was all bargaining without biting. Once popular opinion was in support of the coup leaders, and the kicking out of the French, ECOWAS yielded. The international community's response and recognition of the new government will depend on their assessment of the coup's legitimacy and commitment to democratic principles. The extent of France's influence within international organizations may also shape the response of other countries, considering the influence of France or the French at the United Nations level and at the continental level, talking about Africa. To establish a sustainable democratic system, the Gabonese military and other stakeholders must ensure an inclusive transition that involves civil society organizations, opposition groups, and representatives from various segments of society. This process should prioritize political dialogue and the drafting of a new constitution that serves all the people and all the parties in Gabon. The Bongo family has maintained a firm grip on power since 1967, when Omar Bongo, Ali Bongo's father, assumed the presidency. This dynastic rule fostered a culture of entrenched political elite, limited opposition space, and allegations of corruption. The preparation for last week's elections, which saw Ali Bongo declared winner with 67% of the vote, was marred by controversies and concerns over the integrity of the electoral process. Opposition parties accused the ruling Gabonese Democratic Party, PDG, of manipulating voter registration, biased media coverage, and harassment of opposition members. These accusations raised doubts about the credibility of that election. On election day, international media was banned from covering it. Electricity shut down, and the internet also completely shut down across all of Gabon. Opposition candidates and civil society organizations claimed that the Electoral Commission, controlled by no one else but by the ruling party owned by Ali Bongo, was manipulating voter lists, tampering with ballot boxes, and engaging in voter suppression tactics. These allegations fueled public frustration and eroded trust in the electoral process. Tensions escalated as reports of these irregularities and voter intimidation emerged. Widespread violence and protests erupted across the country, with opposition supporters clashing with security forces. The military, citing the need to restore order and protect the democratic process, intervene, and declared that President Ali Bongo's government was overthrown. In a video footage coming from his home, the presidency, a desperate and physically frightened Ali Bongo, the president is seen and heard appealing to the people to go out and make noise, in quote, or protest the coup. This will certainly not save him and his government, as celebrations and dancing can be seen all over Gabon in support of the military takeover. His wife, Ali Bongo's wife and son, he says in the video, have been taken away, and that he is the only one still left at the presidency. And that is the talking point, ladies and gentlemen. Another leader kicked out, and yet another coup d'etat in West, or call it Central Africa. I am now being joined by Bruno Atiebe and Mark Chaps, who will be taking time to analyze with me the happenings in Gabon. Comrade, it's a pleasure to have you, sir. It appears a man is sleeping on camera there. Comrade Bruno, it's a pleasure to have you.
I'm not yet connected, Comrade Chris. I don't know whether you can hear me. There is a delay in the...
I can see you and I can hear you. You are connected. You are live right now.
Okay. But there is, viewers should know that there is a delay in a communication as we talk. There is a little delay there before it comes to me.
Okay, that is fine, but we get you all right. The quality is good. Good to have you, sir. Stay put in there. Comrade Chaps, it's a pleasure to also have you on the set, sir, joining from Canada.
Thank you, Comrade Chris. It's a pleasure to be on.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'd like us to take a few minutes and observe some of the images that are emerging from Gabon. Let's take a look at this. All right, in that footage there that you are looking at, the Gabonese people celebrate and rejoice at the arrest. I learned of the speaker of the Gabonese House of Assembly. In that footage that you see right there, the population is celebrating the arrest by the military of the Speaker of the Gabonese National Assembly. Now, I also like you to take a look at this other footage image here, ladies and gentlemen. And in this new footage that you see on your screen, you are looking at the new proclaimed military leader of Gabon being paraded there by his fellow soldiers of the Gabonese military. Again, you are looking there at the image of the newly selected, I should say, president, military leader of Gabon being paraded by his colleagues in the military. Now, again, these celebrations are taking place all over Gabon. The people are rejoicing. The people are dancing, taking to the streets to dance. I am going to locate the video of Omar Bongo begging, pleading. In fact, in English, I am shocked that at his arrest, these French guys, they forget French and they start speaking English. Ali Bongo is literally pleading in English that people should go out and make noise. These are his words, ladies and gentlemen. These are his words. Ali Bongo is pleading in that video. I will locate that video. He is pleading that people should go out, make noise. I guess he wanted to say people should go out and protest. And he says in that footage that his wife and the son have all been taken away. He is the only one left. At the presidency, everybody is taken out. He is the only one left there in that massive structure called the presidency. The wife and the son and daughter, they are whisked somewhere by the military. And that is the appeal that Ali Bongo is giving out there. Again, we will make sure we locate that video in the course of this broadcast. Let me bring you in, Mark, because I know this is happening again within a very short span of time. I think within 4 years, 6 or 8 governments have been overthrown in Africa. And in all of this, the people side with the military. You will remember Burkina Faso, you remember Mali, you remember Niger, you remember Guinea, and so on. Guinea. So tell me, Mark, you are a learned man, a barrister in that matter. Tell me, from your own observation, what do you see happening in Africa, West or Central Africa in particular? Please, give us your take on these developments.
Thank you, Comrade Chris. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you 5 on 5.
Okay, well, that's an important question to ask. I think it underlies the root cause of what we are seeing across the sub-Saharan Africa and now to the Sahel. So the perspective that I'd like to share is this. When people are not catered to by the institutions and governments that are in place to actually look out for the people, it creates a sense of desperation. It creates a sense of frustration and anger. And depending on how the situation is, people can either resort to constitutional means of changing those institutions and powers that be, or they might resort to unconstitutional means of changing those powers that be. And I think every government around the world or leaders of institutions should be paying very close attention. Currently in the world now, since the since the kind of light end of the pandemic, there has been a lot of energy that has been bubbling underneath the surface in many societies, frustrations with things that the pandemic exposed as societies and institutions that are not really taking care of their people. We talk about governments for the people, by the people, of the people, and we are seeing increasingly that with the paradigm shifts in global power and the competitions between the global superpowers, the fight for resources has left a whole lot of people in many societies vulnerable. Many institutions, governments are interested in, the geopolitical fights, rather than the average needs of their citizens. And many of the citizens in these places have very limited options of how to express those frustrations. And in many cases, when they do, they are met with brutality, either from the regime, as we've seen in many cases, including in the Cameroons, and in many other regions. And therefore, we also at the same time can juxtaposition that with the excesses of many leaders. Nowadays, we have social media. There is a lot of access to information. And so people can see that it is not because of a lack of resources or the lack of a strategic thinking about how do we take care of the people that is missing. It is the fact that the people in power are using every means to ensure that they siphon whatever they can do for themselves and their families, while the people remain in destitute and in desperation and in great suffering. And when you put all of these things together, it culminates into this agitation. The people want change, and those forces of change cannot be stopped until some kind of change is achieved. The question is, what kind of change are these forces going to create? And therefore, when you are in a situation where there is no institutional change, there is no intent, there is no approach that is being put in place to signal that there is going to be institutional change to meet the people's needs, then you have other forces within the ranks of power that are trying to see if they can capitalize on these populist feelings and sentiments in a way that might advance their own interests, or in a way that might actually meet the needs of the people. And as you said in your monologue, we are still left to see how this situation unfolds and what it translates into. But at this early stage, I think it's fair to say that the analysis is that because of the deep-seated frustrations, destitution, the people have been clamoring for some kind of a change, and the military has seen that there is an opportunity there for them to maybe legitimize some kind of a change in the direction of the country or change in power structures. It is now left for us to see what they do with that. What is the next steps? Are they going to hand over power to some kind of a transitional government? Are they going to return power to a democratic rule following some constitutional mechanism that is within their constitution? What is the way out? What is the next step? I think that is what is going to be really telling to us about whether this is a positive change or not. Generally, I think as a person of law, we like to say that the rule of law is really the cornerstone of every society, and it should be respected and upheld no matter what the cost. I'm a zealous advocate for the rule of law, but I understand in these circumstances that these are the things that have led to this type of unconstitutional change, and it is left to see how this plays out and how the actors in this scenario decide to construct what they have done in a way that manages to reflect the aspirations of the people.
Thank you, Comrade Chaps, for that analysis. Let's look at the footage I'm talking about of Omar Ali Bongo. This footage came out just this morning. Ali Bongo is left alone at his own presidency. The wife, son, and alone daughter are all whisked away. He's all left there and appealing to social media through this video footage to go out and protest. You call it make noise. Make noise. Listen, please.
Thank you. Ondimba, President of Gabon. And I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world to tell them to make noise, For the people here have arrested me and my family. My son is somewhere, my wife is in another place, and I'm at the residence. Right now, I'm at the residence, and nothing happening. Nothing is happening. I don't know what's going on. So I'm calling you to make the noise to make noise, really. I'm thanking you. Thank you.
I am telling you to make noise. Make noise. He said, I am the only one at the residence. My wife is gone. My son is nowhere to be seen. Please make noise. Make noise, which means protest. What do you make of a once powerful man and now rendered powerless, Mark Chaps?
Well, Secretary Chris, isn't this a lesson in history? And for those who are watching or who might be watching and thinking that this will never happen to them, this might never be their piece, this might never be their portion. For those who are in a similar position, you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about those leaders who have been in power forever and whose people's aspirations are not being reflected in the decision making that they have. You might have the power today, but as much as power corrupts, you also have to understand that power comes to an end, just like everything has a beginning and an end. And so, really, as agents or as human beings, the only power we have is to determine how things end for us. So in this case, we have many leaders who have seen the writing on the wall, and they've sought to bring in some type of transition, so that they can also preserve their legacy, but they can also usher their respective countries into a new future beyond them and beyond their legacy. Now, for people who think that they can find creative ways, as in this case, defrauding the people through elections to maintain a legacy and to impose a new future on the people, subsequently you meet an end like this, which does neither. It neither preserves your legacy, and it neither brings in the people that you may have thought should be brought in to preserve your legacy had you just followed the democratic process in a transparent manner. So I'm not surprised. This is rife through history. Dictators always fall, and it depends on how you manage those final days that determines how you fall. So he's right there amongst the list of many that have gone before him. And I think as people who have aspired to hold on to power for life, they should have also been students of history.
Absolutely. Uncle B, let me get back to you to give us your take on the drama that we see unfolding in Gabon.
Okay, am I coming through, Comrade Chris?
I can hear you. Go on, please.
Very good. I welcome an audience for listening to us today. Happy to be on a panel with my panelist, Chips. I wish this was happening, the very first footage. I wish it was happening at Bongo Square in Boya. If that would have been the case, and I know it will happen someday, if I had to drop dead today, I would be grateful. But all the same, Comrade Chris, once a time in people's life, you see, you have, when a child is born, there are stages a child grows and becomes an adult, acting upon himself to write his own affairs. African nations were born, most of them in the early 60s. They've grown and they become adults, and they're really asking questions. You see, a child, a nursing mother, the baby sometimes gets frustrated if he or she is hungry and then needs food. If I want to say something in terms of what my colleague said here, that he actually likes the rule of law. Very correct. But see, this has often happened when the rules of law or the laid down principles are not respected. People will think that when you go to the ballot board, that's where you go to make a change. Like what just happening, what is happening, all of these coup d'etats, and you go to, you become frustrated, there's no way to affect that change. Do you sit down and watch it happen forever? The European nations passed through this same situation we're going by liberating themselves. And because they have a grip on us, they want to make sure they tell us what happens to us. These young guys, you see, most of the young guys here are guys that maybe in their mid, their primes. But they've seen it all and seen that if they don't speak out, they may come to stay. It's not a norm in life. Frustration is something that a child can buy the mother's nipple just because the mother made him or him angry. Just because he becomes frustrated, gets angry. What do you do if such a situation presents itself? The problem here is our leaders, they think that without them, nobody else can do something. And they can go there and change the law with impunity. They don't care what happens. But then, you see, change comes from the minds. And when we are united, change comes easily. But when a few people are disgruntled out there, the big boy will always trample on them and they will have no way to resist it. What is happening in Africa today with these nations? It's a wake-up call. See what happened in the 60s with the wind of change that started in Arab Spring, and they blew through Africa for multi-partism. That came right to something we used to call Cameroon. It's actually what is happening. You see all of the nations grouping themselves together to liberate themselves from the shackles of the West. We have become adults. And I think it is time we decide what is good for us and not somebody continuing to say, I will tell you what you have to do. It is me to give you. It is me to take it. How do you explain a father pass away and leave property for the children? The elders say, okay, I'll take it all for myself. Sometimes it ends in court and finds people going even to sorcerers to go and settle it there because they feel cheated and will not want to just sit there and see one person grab all that is for them. In this case, it's not even one of them. Somebody from out there can harvest all that you have, and you go begging for him to give to you. Or do you to talk for if Papa leave you something, you not add for which if Papa leave am for you. That means you'll be very weak picking, or you not fight for which if Papa leave am, and there's some man they can't take him. Then you not be fit for beach or chair for that part. In this, I'm saying that this I know that our fathers left these resources for us, and somebody is exploiting them. There is a time we have to say enough is enough. And this is where we are today, Comrade Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask you look at, that is again, one's very powerful man. One's very powerful man. The father ruled for 40 years. Himself, he has ruled for 14 years. Was looking for 7 more years to make it 20 what? To make it 21 years. Right. He was looking for 7 more years to make it 21 years. This guy had a stroke, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, and can barely stand or walk. But he cling on to power until he is removed by the people's coup, as we saw today. Do you really think, also taking into consideration all these other coups we have seen around the continent, do you think these other leaders learn a lesson? Because we know how to condemn coups. We know how to condemn coups. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anybody, not even in the AU or ACAS, condemn this coup in Gabon. What do you think is going on in the minds of these other leaders?
Comrade Chris, is when you go to the farm that is more productive is the one you put more interest to that farm. My mother had too many farms. There was one farm that my mother fed us for almost 30 years before she passed away. She never left that farm because it was productive. So you really want these people to leave a productive farm and go to a farm that is not productive, and where interest is, and where they have to harvest a lot. It is a game of interest instead of take all for yourself. But the problem here, Secretary Chris, is Comrade Chris, is this: how much does he pay people like this one I'm looking on the screen here, at his age, unable to walk, suffered a stroke? How do they expect to make a name for themselves? Do they even think of the legacy they leave behind for the people when they are gone? This is breed in its first order. They say sometimes they say for our country that say when they claim tree, I beg when they claim ladder, no claim go hotel ladder, man, that man no claim. Or when they claim, begin look for where they claim, because sometimes they when they come down, you will see meet out those people. These people they don't get these people don't have anything in that like in their history, in their DNA. They think that is them. Oh, but when it comes like this guy is begging here, you never thought this time would come. But until the people takes it into their hand to say no, enough is enough. You are not the only you are not the only one in Gabon that can rule. Or there are quite others, multiple of others. You see, leaders come and go, but nations remain. But these people don't think that leaders are supposed to go until they die. It is their farm. To the extent that my father is thinking that is you to take over from me, and this guy already thinking that my own son is going to take. These are not kingdoms. These are presidency, democracy, republics, and not kingdoms. That you think that it is hereditary. And I think that maybe that's what they are trying to put in place right now to make it hereditary. Otherwise, there will be no reason why, and you cannot expect why. These people are doing this. You see in Africa now, these people who buy that wind of change. You see their reaction to what is happening. And those who are stuck with the mentality of the white man must tell me what to do. You see, they stay quiet. Nobody will say anything. They will stay quiet. This Coup would have seen communiques coming up left and right, but nobody is doing it. But see what happened to Niger. So it is a matter of where do I have to harvest? How much am I going to harvest? You develop the interest. And where the farm is barren, and you thinking that it is me and nobody else, and I don't know how this is very common only to us in Africa. Change can it starts from the minds. And this guy hasn't even got a mind that can mean anything like change or listening to his people. Trample on his people, he doesn't care, but it is him and the few that are around him. And I heard somebody writing that it looks like this thing is balanced. There is no dictator in the world that hasn't got followers. We see it in our own struggle. No matter what you do, see people clapping and say, oh, he has done the best, he has done the best. Humanity was made that way. But where the 50 plus 1 can pronounce is Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Comrade Chaps, you look at, again, let's look at the jubilation and celebrations on the streets of Libreville in Gabon. That tells you these people were desperate. Look at them dancing, celebrating out there. These people were desperate, isn't it? They were desperate for change.
Absolutely. You see, this is what we're talking about, that there is an undercurrent of frustration on many fronts. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there is an undercurrent of frustration that is running rife, especially on the continent. And this is on two folds, if people are just trying to analyze it. On one side, it is against the West and Western interests and the way that they have continued to carry on business that has actually led to a lot of the impoverishment of Africa, and many of the people that are where they are in the destitute situations that they are is as a result of this Western interest and their operations. Then on the second front, it is against the leadership of their various respective nations, because of the way that they have not been able to stand up and actually advocate on behalf of their people. You know, many times we blame the West, and I'm speaking in double speak here. Forgive me. Many times we blame the West, but you know, they are not just coming there with guns to your head, so to speak. You know, it takes two to tango. There's a complicity in our leadership that allows for our resources to be manipulated. So it's a two-way street. And so I think you see that frustration reflected in when people, the populations, kind of celebrate this sort of unconstitutional means of taking over power or taking away power from dictators, but at the same time also condemning in the same voice the reaction and responses from the West. It's a reflection of this general frustration. And I think if anybody is out there and is not paying attention to this, then they should start paying attention to this, because it's only growing. It's not going to stop. And who knows where these frustrations and tensions are going to lead up to. I've heard people talk about, revolutions that have happened in the past. We studied some of those in school, but there is a real renaissance, or there's a real revolution on the current in Africa right now, and hopefully those energies are channeled in a rightful manner and actually lead to constructive change. Because the worst thing that can happen is, for people to be enthusiastic and excited about a win of change, and then it morphs into something that is not actually a win of change or for the good, but actually a win of change for the bad. So I think we should all be attentive, diligent, and we should all be very well prepared in order to be able to contribute to this new change, so that in the construct of it, it is actually done to make things right, not just to replace the old guard with some new guard that is going to continue the old type of politics, the old type of administration, and the old type of institutions that don't serve the best interests of the people.
I think you are very apt in your analysis there, comrade, and which is where it leads to the questions. Have some coups become legal coups? Because you see, recently the question has been, which coup should we condemn, which coup should we support? In the case of Niger, almost all of ECOWAS stepped out and said, oh no, we are storming Niger to get rid of the military, ever before they sat down to think, no, we can't do that. Now, in the case of Gabon, they are all mute. They say nothing, as if this one is legitimate, isn't it, Uncle B?
Yeah, you see, Secretary, the problem here is that sometimes they too lack words, or they fear even what to say. Because in a chain of coups like this, it comes to a time that you think that, what again can I say? See the frustration ECOWAS had from Niger. When they said they were going into the next day, the 2 days, and they started saying, no, that was not the right thing to do. Just within the ranks, they could not agree for themselves to go in. And now they're asking for a timetable for transition to civilian government. Because some of these leaders, sometimes they are stuck with what to do at a time. What will you say today? These people are stuck. But the problem here is, Comrade Chris, as I said, when you are a leader and you refuse to listen to your people, this is what you should expect from the people. It will come a time that you expect this from the people. You see the people sweeping on the street there is sort of rejoicing. And I will not see any African leader, if I'm listening to Aricanas and the Lumumbas preaching out there every day, what the French has in stock for us. And you are against the idea that somebody stands up to tell the French man, no, this enough is enough. Are you against that? I don't think you are honest to yourself, because these people will never, never, never let you go. They will never let you go until you stand up. The Americans left Europe because of kingdom and persecution and came here, established America. You must be able to take yourself out of trouble by yourself and not wait for somebody to do it. It took mainly the person to tell the public, from this day we'll see who rules Amazonia, who controls Amazonia. Some people must be able, like these guys who are conducting these coups. It takes a brave guy with a heart of a goal for his people to say, no, I'll see how much I can contribute to stop this. But if all of us stay silent, when shall it end? What shall be our legacy? What are we going to leave back for our children living through all this? And if we don't change that, it's kind of we stay indifferent. I'm asking your government to start thinking of what they're going to do too, not to commit coup d'etat anyway. Because I think, how are we going to progress from there? A lesson that we are supposed to learn from here going forward. I hope that is going to express in the APP tomorrow. So I'm saying that most of these things are here to make us learn. History has always repeated itself, and the Europeans did this. I do not say how when it comes to our trying to liberate ourselves, because we are liberating ourselves from them, they will not let us go. And I'm sure those who they were liberating themselves from did not let them go easily. They also fought back, and the British did with the Americans. They never wanted them to go, and the war was fought before they went away. So all of this will depend on the joy, the common man on the street, and you see mothers sweeping that street. But then always expect operation from those people. Always have their own people to make their own voices heard. That's why I said that I say go out and make noise, go out and make noise. Unfortunately, no one is making the noise. Those who were making noise, they would have been doing it just because they were afraid of not to make the noise. But now that he is helpless, they have refused to go out there to make the noise. And where do you find yourself? Helpless. Thank you.
All right. Let me ask both of you this interesting question, because, each time a coup d'etat takes place in this Sahel, Central, West African region, the question is, what are the French going to do? Are they going to be kicked out? In the case of Gabon, we understand that the French have 2 military camps in Gabon, with each of them numbering at least 700. We saw the Nigerians kicking them out of Niger. We also saw the Malians kicking them out of Mali. Now, what has happened in Gabon is somehow a little bit slightly different from what happened in Niger, because we do not know the leanings of the army in Gabon. What is your thinking about the direction the military in Gabon will take towards the French? Comrade Mark, let me start with you.
Yeah, Comrade Chris, it's a little bit of a complex analysis here, because as my fellow panelists were saying earlier, the world works really on interest. It's all about interest, right? And so even for the coup leaders, they, I think, should have already been thinking about their own interest and the interest that perhaps align with theirs, that they can bring into buffer as a buffer into creating the pathway that they want to follow. And when they are looking at those interests, it's not just local interests, they're also looking at foreign interests. So, okay, we're going to do this. We know Ali Bongo is aligned with these countries. You have to do those map and analysis to say, okay, who's likely to support us, who's likely not to support us. Why would this person be supporting us? What is it that they want that we have, and what can we get from them that we need? And so that's the type of backroom game or analysis that I think is being made for this. And so in that sense, that is why you see different approaches. So maybe they make a calculation that, for the time being, we're so intertwined with French interests that for us to preserve what we need to preserve and usher in what we need to usher in, we need to keep those interests aligned for now. So we're not perhaps fighting a war on two fronts. Those are calculations that have to be made. So I think it's only time will tell as they assess how this is being received, as they assess the reactions, maybe in the background from the parties that have interest, the countries that have interest in Gabon. Then we're going to see some more public-facing decision making that might tell us how they are responding to those interests. But I think this is all of what is happening right now, and I'm assuming that in a short while we're going to hear, the person who's the elected leader now, or the leader that has assumed power now, come out and lay out some kind of a roadmap of what their intent is. I think that's all what the next days are going to show us.
Uncle B, what do you think is running through the minds of the elite and politicians in Paris tonight as we analyze the situation in Gabon? Do you think they are feeling like Are we still going to be kicked out here?
You say Paris, right?
Yes.
Okay, you see the problem here, Comrade Chris, as Comrade Chef says, sometime we deal with this, we will know exactly the cause of this. It may be the French are still behind this guy and seeing that this guy was incapable of doing something or they were not following orders again, they went behind to undercut this. Because you will not imagine.
And to that point, you see, the French, it doesn't appear like they've made any statement about the events in Gabon. They have not condemned the coup. I don't think so. Have you heard any condemnation coming from?
But you think that, Comrade Chris, you think that if they orchestrated it, they will be the very first people to condemn?
Well,
they are silent.
They orchestrated it if they allow him to run. I believe they were behind him because he has been a good partner to them for 14 years.
Exactly. But even a good partner, see the time of Ahij, as we said, Ahij's time, they say Ahij was a good person. But they tricked him to take him out of power without him knowing that he was being taken out of power.
Why do you
and when he
think
realized
Biya as old and good for nothing as he has been for all these years, why would they trick Bongo and leave Biya hanging in there good for nothing?
Bobby might still be very loyal to them and answer yes, sir, every day. But this one might answer.
This one is what?
It's breaking up.
No, I can hear you. I didn't hear you. You said this one is what?
I'm saying that this one is just because Mr. Biya is still answering yes and allowing them to do everything they would do, and they've not had a replacement yet. You see, people react when they've already settled their game and have the scores and know, okay, this is what we are going to really go in for. But I'm not by any means saying that they are behind it. They might not be behind it. But the politicians in that place or even in Paris is what they call panic control. Or what do we do at this moment? That's why you see that sometimes they are still very silent to come up because they are still thinking of, they don't want to rush out to make a statement that will bite them tomorrow. They might still be thinking as that one of our farms is about to go. And with the multiplicity of what is happening, they are confused and they have to think before they come out to make a statement. They can't just rush out for a statement. Until with time, we'll be able to know. But I want to believe that the win of this change that is happening, all African leaders are supposed to learn a lesson that at one point you must stand up for your people and not stand up for foreigners.
So what do you think is happening in Paris tonight among the elite and the politicians?
That is what I'm saying, that they are scrambling to find out. They are in a panic mode right now. If they did not orchestrate it, they are what you see, crisis management right now. What do we do? What do we do? And especially those who are still in Gabon, they are representing, they are foreigners in Gabon. They should be thinking what to do next, because maybe it has taken them unawares. Because election that was being conducted, campaign went on smoothly, and elections until that day, you see, light went on, internet went on, all this went off. It might have taken them by surprise. And to just get and give it, to go and give a statement, you need to think 1-2 days before you say this is what is going to happen, before you come out with your own statement. If they're what they're doing a crisis management, what do we do? Scrambling for what to do, the answer to give.
Ambassador, let's take a look at something here. Ambassador Thibault Nage put out a tweet describing the situation in Gabon, and he said, the military takeover in Gabon will be hard to criticize, given the series of votes. Can't call them democratic elections, which kept Bongo family in power 56 years. I'm sure, he says, the Bias and Obiangs, that is referring to the president of Equatorial Guinea, the Bias and the Obiangs are paying close attention. Do you think Thibault has it on the money here, Comrade Chaps? The military in Cameroon is too cowardly to even think of overthrowing Paul Biya. You know that, right? That has never happened.
Yeah, and you see, this is the thing about risk assessment, right? You have to do it. There are always risks and there are always rewards. and everybody is doing their risk assessments. And for people who don't do the risk analysis, then you don't know. So I know that we have the perception, or we make the claim or lay assertion that the Cameroon military, based on our experience, at least in our lifetimes, that, this is not something that they may be able to do. But I think we forget so quickly that there was an attempted coup in Cameroon back in 1982. And so when those sentiments have already been created, there is always a place for it, and there is always just that one person who can champion an idea and be persuasive about that idea. I don't imagine that all of the military in Gabon was in on this. I don't imagine that all of the military in the various places that the coups have taken place were in on it. But I believe that there was a select few who did the analysis, did the assessment, build the relationships that they needed to build in order for it to be seamless in the way that it is. And so while we know, I was just reading something that is shocked that they have reshuffled the military in the Cameroons. The government has just done some reshufflement of military personnel.
Oh, is that? They did it today?
Yeah, that's what I just saw today. So I don't know what the veracity of that is, but if that be the case, at least that people are feeling panicked, and people are feeling that
fear is gripping them.
Fear is in fact gripping them, and it should, for the right reasons, because the people who are going down by virtue of these coups, some of them have been there forever. Others are people who have not been there for long, but have demonstrated a clear lack of the management capacity of the nation in the way that meets the aspirations of the people. And so if you're a government that has been subject to these types of excesses, poor governance, corruption, embezzlement, mismanagement, whether you've been there 20 years or not, or whether you've only been there 2 years, with this type of sentiments in the air, you should be afraid. You should be thinking, what can you do to prevent this from coming around your backyard?
Interesting. Uncle B, let me get your response on the Thibault Nash's comment out there on Twitter. Again, Thibault says, the military takeover in Gabon will be hard to criticize given the series of votes. Can't call them democratic elections, which kept Bongo family in power for 56 years. I'm sure the Bias and Obiangs are getting ready or they are worried. What is your take on that comment from Thibault Nash, sir?
Exactly, Comrade Chris. You're already seeing the reaction. If what we are reading, the French people call it cabinet or military, something, I don't know how it is called, as some sort of reorganizing the military, should tell you that it's a reaction to what is that. They're not put in place to safeguard what Thibault is saying about. Because you know that when the wind of change come around, it doesn't stop somewhere, it go all over. And if you find yourself vulnerable to such a change, you must be able to take condition to make sure you are not a victim. And that's what Bobia principally might have just done in Cameroon. Said, okay, maybe I was afraid of this. I must lock those loopholes to make sure I maintain my position. But then communicate with all of this. There are always consequences to situations like this. Those African leaders that might have been pushed to do something like that might then turn with what is happening. They might turn away from where they were and listen to their people. And I came here for the people. There are few African leaders that are speaking up for their people and for the continent. They might in itself reinforce that call that let's listen to our people and not to foreigners and not be guided from somewhere else. Otherwise, and I say otherwise, take a place, as you say, a table Nagy warning. Any political analyst like Chip that is analyzing here with me will know that this is really at my backyard. So what am I going to do? That panic mode, and we just saw or we are seeing what is happening there right now to close the loophole if I thought there was any. But we have made it a way that the closest people to him as his brothers. But one thing I'm hearing, I read somewhere that this guy who are taking over from Bongo is a cousin. I don't know how true that is. If that is true, a son took over from father, now a cousin has taken over from a cousin. I don't know how that is true. But if take to Yaoundé, they are victim to such situations. There are people who don't listen to people. There are some who have been in power to that same length of time. If you can see the time Mr. Biya has been in power from prime minister until date, it's almost up to that level. Therefore, they are birds of the same feather. He's been at the corridors of politics in Cameroon for almost 70 to 75 or 60 years. But then you will ask yourself, when something like this is happening behind your house, if you are that stubborn a leader, the next thing is, how am I going to prevent myself? How am I to take care of this coming to my house to take me off? But a normal man with a man, if I were there, communicate, I think if you were there, if you go on TV now and talk to people, I'm very sorry, I never knew, I made a mistake, I'm coming back to you, you'll be forgiven. So now you hold it strong that it is me or nobody, you will end up like this. Thank you.
Let's move a little bit to Nigeria because we know that back in Nigeria, an election is being contested. An election is being contested in Nigeria, and they are still waiting for the court to rule on their last election. And we know the history of military coups in Nigeria. What will happen if the ruling from the courts in Nigeria come down and doesn't favor the person that the people, the overwhelming majority of Nigerians think won the elections? Don't you see Nigerians calling for a military intervention in their country?
Yes, Comrade Chris. You see, they will call if the military is ready to do that. They can call if the military thinks that they can do that. As I say, sometimes it's an internal preparation in the military to do that. It may be with time. Okay, you will talk about it. That's somebody they see in court, and they already declared a president, and he's leading as a president, and they're calling President Tinubu, the same Nigerians that are still in court fighting for that. These are situations that often lead to such thing we call coup d'etat or coup plotter, as they call some of us. Because you will become frustrated that we had an election, it's being challenged in court. And even the result have already come up with the proof showed that Tinubu did not win the election, according to what I see on TV. But there is no rule I see going on now. Is the West condemning it? No. Has somebody come to say, no, stop until the court put down his ruling before you can rule? No. So what is the double standard here? It will depend where interests lie and where their concern is. Maybe Tinubu is really an alliance and in alliance to them. And they say that even no matter what, we want to keep it in power. And they pretentiously tell us they want democracy. I don't know how democratic this can be for a people to go to the poll to express themselves in a free and fair election. And somebody stands and say, whether you do what or what and take out electricity, blow out everything and declare himself winner. With a large margin, 60-something. What do? You sit and look that continue to happen for years, from 60 years to 100 years? Then the frustration comes in. See a people like what you just put. If somebody is president, with a lot of, they are in court, and the person who brought it to court is like he's winning, but you're already a president, commanding the country as president. How do you reconcile with that? Are they not laws in that country? Are they not buying? I mean, something that should guide the elections in that place. And when it happens like this, and if each and every person comes and do this, comes and does this, come and do this, every time they do this, how long shall we continue to tolerate this? That's why if I want to do those who will do coup d'etat, I'll be one of those to lead it. If this is happening before me, this is what I hate to my core. Thank you.
Well, we are all spectators and looking what transpired. Let me get to Comrade Mark there. Give us your perspective with Nigeria vis-a-vis what is happening in Gabon, Niger, and all these African countries in the light of the uh, protestation against the election results in that country.
Yeah, Comrade Chris, Nigeria is a little bit of a different beast because the dynamics there are a little bit more different than in
But
some
people
of
are
the other
angry
Western.
there. Inflation there is huge. No, I mean, the level of unemployment, huge. Inflation, huge. Political agitations, huge. I mean, Nigeria is a time bomb.
Certainly, those factors exist, but let's remember also Nigeria has gone through a civil war. They've seen more than 7 military coups that have happened in that country. So there is also something to be said about the wounds of history and how that impacts on the vision and how people see the future. You know, so they have a lived experience of this historical fact that perhaps the people in Gabon are experiencing maybe for the first time. The people in Niger may be experiencing it for the second time, but Nigeria has been through coups and wars. So that impacts on how second time, but Nigeria has been through and wars. So
There is. Go on, please. Go on.
yeah, so that impacts again on the calculus of the people. You have to think about it this way. You know, when you're making that analysis in terms of should you do this or should you do that, one of the calculations must be about how the people are going to respond to it. And while the people might be frustrated about the democratic process in the elections, it may not necessarily translate into wanting military rule necessarily. And so Nigerians also have a lot of faith in their judicial system, right? So that's another pillar of the democracy is the judicial system. And so I think the trust that the courts are going to do the right thing and avert any potential for military intervention. Also, the dynamics in terms of who constitutes most of the military also factors into that in Nigeria, who are those who hold the highest ranking positions in the military, and the dynamics with respect to you know, the makeup of Nigeria. So there are sort of a lot of factors in there that you know, a lot of variables that you have to look at to be able to predict whether if the court.
Are you really trying to say if the courts in Nigeria come down with a verdict that Ahmed Tinubu didn't win the vote in that Peter Obi was a rightful winner, that he should take over? Are you trying to say that Ahmed Tinubu will listen to the decision from the court?
That's in fact what I am saying. He will listen to the decision of the court. Here's one thing. No. But here's the thing. If you look at Nigeria's jurisprudence, I know that there is distrust. I know that there is corruption. But if you go back and look at Nigeria's jurisprudence, their rule of law, as much as it has all this, it's tainted with all these things. Their judiciary is one of the respected arms of government.
Respected and dynamic, but I think at different points in history they failed Nigerians. I will look at, for example, during the time of Abiola.
Well, but that was in the past. You have to look now, right? So now they are making amends, and that's why they are being in this position. But here's what I'm really trying to say. What I'm trying to say is this. We're talking about institutions and what they do for the people, and then we're also talking about the people in in places of power and how they respond to institutions. So if the courts were to come down and make a decision which was favorable to Peter Obi, it would now be up to Tinubu to decide and weigh those risks. Do I want to reject the courts and then get the eye of the people for going down that route of not following the rule of law? And if I want to do that, do I have an army? Do I have the support of perhaps the military or other arms of government that I could use to stay in power. So that's the calculus he would have to make in order to say that he's not going to listen to the High Court, right? And similarly, the same thing would fall on Mr. Obi. If the courts were to come down and say Tinubu was the rightful winner, then the calculation needs to be, if I continue to contest this, or if I want to use other means to make sure that I bring my viewpoint to the fore, do I have those capabilities? So that's why I'm saying that it's not a very strict kind of case in Nigeria as it is in these other places where, they might have had a judiciary that wasn't as robust, and that was just a yes man to the executive branch. So in Nigeria, it's a little bit different. And so that's why I'm not really rushing to say that, there might be a coup of some sort anytime in Nigeria.
Let me ask both of you. I see people out there on the social media saying, what about Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Sierra Leone? Sierra Leone is an Anglo-Saxon country. Let's take that out. But Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, what will the people there be thinking when they see what is happening in Burkina Faso, in Gabon, in Equatorial Guinea, in Guinea, Mali, Niger? Please, before we open the phone lines. Uncle B.
Well, I think... Oh, sorry.
Uncle B.
Before I get there, let me throw some doubts on what my co-panelists were saying about Nigeria jurisprudence. I want to believe that even the electoral modality we made for Ambazonia, there's a time frame where you can challenge elections, and if there's a challenge, it must be handled before this time, before somebody is proclaimed a winner. But in Nigeria, with their prudence, as you are saying here, somebody is already a president. Were there no rules? Were there no laws stipulating how you become a president after elections? Before you become a president, you're already being a president? Except that you defy those laws or the rules before you can be. Otherwise, there's going to be a time frame that before somebody is proclaimed president, every doubt must have been cleared for that to happen.
Yeah,
but now he's president.
That's a very important point, because I don't know how you get Tinubu seated there for how many, like half a year, and then you come back from behind to tell him you didn't win the elections. Those targets would have been set ever before the president is proclaimed.
Communicate. The problem here is that those challenges came up in court. That must be cleared before any proclamation of a president of a winner. But it was ignored. So all of these things is just a matter of, I can't tell how God created an African man. Maybe we are still learning. I cannot understand that we are still learning. Or you talk about Senegal and Cameroon. As I said, Cameroon is really preparing. You just saw the rearrangement of the military, and everybody will be thinking that, maybe the next is us. And they are already assessing their situation. Who is loyal to them? Who is not loyal to them? To take care of. Maybe this is what they just did. And in Senegal, sometimes action will spur other actions as a spontaneous action to others, if you've been a victim to such a situation. And I don't think there's any country in Africa today that is being managed by, I say managed by France, not by something they call president or something like managed by France, that will not feel what I'm saying on the street here today, sweeping on the street with fresh leaves. It's something it will come spontaneously, but then it will depend on how courageous a few people will be there to single out themselves and start for others to follow. If there's no single person to stand up and say, I'm going to die here, and the other to follow, most of them will stay quiet but dying in pain, but they will not make a noise. They will not make any statement. But a brave guy must be there, like these young guys who are doing this in this country, to say, no, enough is enough. And you see it happen. You think these people on the street here, they would have come to the street? It's because somebody did it, and then they reacted, or spontaneously they came out to say, we bless you for what you just did. But they were dying in silence. They couldn't say something. The pain was there until a lead shows itself. It's from there that you know how people were suffering and how people were looking at you as a leader. Thank you.
Well, let me take, again, before I open the phone lines, let me take you guys. Please look at this image I show you on the screen there, Mark Chaps. Look at that image. The young guy descending from the SUV there is Frank Biya. Frank Biya,
Yes.
that is a young guy there. That is a guy who is being groomed to take over from Paul Biya in Cameroon. That is Frank Biya in the black suits, greeting the chiefs there in the north of Cameroon, I was told. That is Frank Biya. Now, they are sitting there in Yaoundé and looking at what is going on in Gabon. Gabon, in that matter. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? What is your take on this situation where they are thinking of handing over to Frank Biya, and Frank Biya is seeing what is happening in these other countries? Mark Chaps.
Comrade Chris, I think it should be very concerning to folks in Yaoundé who have this as their plan B option. It should be very concerning. And again, like I go back to all of these things, you're doing a risk assessment, you're planning, scenario planning on, okay, what if this, what if that? You're considering all the other factors. But the fact of the matter here is that Frank Biya is going to have a lot of challenges if he is aiming to ascend to power in that country. And so while this visit to the north might be some type of proactive measures put in place to try to preempt some of the challenges that he might face, at this stage, I think that this is just kind of testing the grounds and seeing. But if people are really critically analyzing what is happening around the continent and looking at what history tells us about these types of decisions, we saw in Chad also something similar occurred. They should be thinking otherwise. And it's even worse because there are other people within the Cameroonian government who want to ascend to that power place, and so we are not even sure or certain whether Frank Biya is going to make it past those folks. So it's going to be an internal sort of bloodbath, as they say, before he survives. So they should be very concerned, anybody who sort of has plan B with Frank Biya, because just the internal dynamics within they themselves and the people who are already aspiring and seeing themselves in the role of president, even before the one who's president has left, I think it's going to be an uphill.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Please stay put if you can. When we come back, I'm going to open the phone lines for our listeners to call in from wherever you may be across the world for as long as you are on WhatsApp. But before I do that, I just like to remind all of you to please locate ABS Africa TV, ABS Africa TV on YouTube, and please subscribe so that you can always receive notifications when we come up live as we do now. Also, we are broadcasting live 24/7 on the Coup TV. If you have Coup TV at home on your television set, all you need to do is get there, search for ABS Africa TV, download the app on your TV screen, and you can watch us 24/7. For those of you watching all over Africa on satellite, you have nothing to do. Please remain seated and keep on hitting the share button. I will be right back, and when I come back, I will open the phone lines and allow all of you out there to come in with your contributions. Don't touch your remote. all right, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for staying put out there. The phone number is right there on the screen. But before you call, please make sure that you turn down the volume of your set before you call so that you can focus on your phone. Please remember, we are streaming live 24/7 on Roku TV. If you have Roku TV at home, you can download the ABS Amber TV app and be able to watch us live 24/7. And I'd like to remind all of you out there, especially those of you who joined from where we call the Federal Republic of Amazonia, the interim government here will be holding a very, very critical APP town hall. It is open for everybody across the diaspora. The Zoom link will be circulating early in the morning tomorrow, and so please look for the Zoom link to be able to participate. Again, the phone line is open. Go ahead and call to make your contributions. And let me also remind you, beginning September the 11th, ABS will be bringing you our daily news flash on a daily basis. That is a new feature we are introducing here at ABS. So watch out for that. Again, the phone number is open. I'm waiting for your phone calls. Let us get this one first. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Chris.
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from,
Mr.
please?
Chris. I'm calling from Ground Zero.
Ground Zero, Amazonia. What is on your mind, sir?
Yeah. Well, on my mind, just I want to speak. What is going on now, to me, is the will of God.
How do you know that?
It's the will of God. But me, I want us to focus upon our own land.
Yeah, but this is an inspiration, isn't it?
No, it is.
If the people of Niger can have a government that represents them, that of Gabon, that of Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, why not we, right?
No, we have our own.
All right.
But I want us to beg you that. The important thing, 1st October is very important.
We hear you.
1st October is very important. Now in Ground Zero, there's a lot of confusion. If you have the means to speak with the fighters, it will be good.
All right. Thank you.
A lot of
There shouldn't be any confusion. We've always celebrated 1st of October since the war against La République du Cameroon started. Even before that, as far as school resumption is concerned, we have made it crystal clear. No La République du Cameroon operated schools open in Amazonia, including what we call establishment schools. And we have given all those mission schools an injunction. If they are out to exploit the parents with exorbitant fees, we will shut them down. We are monitoring every one of those schools. All right, thank you for the call. Hello. Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
Calling from Maryland. Was following the program, even though I was at work.
All right.
Kudos to Uncle B and Comrade Chaps. Comrade Chaps, I hope you had a safe trip back to Canada. I'm so happy that Comrade Chris, you come on here and bring the live event, what is happening. I'm so concerned with this thing that is happening in Gabon, Africa, because I'm a Pan-Africanist. There's a lot going on. I see that the internet was bought in Gabon by the military. I don't think you guys heard of that.
Yeah, we heard of it. We mentioned it here. The military has
Okay.
since turned it back on. They have since turned on the internet, right?
Yes, and then BIA has made some changes. I sent that to your WhatsApp. I know you did not see them because I sent a lot of stuff to your WhatsApp. So if you go there, you'll see all those documents that BIA is already scared and made military changes today.
Yeah, I
And,
learned Mark Chef brought us that news that Bia has made some military changes. I guess he is afraid of his life. The man who cannot
yes.
walk, who cannot stand, he's afraid they will arrest him and keep him in there like they did with Bongo, I guess. Look at Bongo. You see Bongo in this video. Omar Bongo in this video sitting there in the presidential palace all alone. All the
All
cooks
alone,
are gone.
no bodyguard,
No bodyguard, no cooks, no servants. Even the wife and the son, the children, they are gone. And
everybody
Bia is scared.
You know what is funny? Something is funny. I was with some people, some Sakos people today, and they were like, "Oh, we like the coup. We really love the coup." I said, "Oh, you people know coups are good, and you are calling us coup floaters."
Okay. I guess our coup should be one of those classified legitimate, isn't it?
Thanks, guys, for the hard work and keep it up.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate the call. Okay, the phone line remains open, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and call. The phone line is open. The phone line is open. Waiting for your call. All right, let's get to this caller here. Hello. Think the caller dropped. All right. Again, the phone line is still open. Let me read what this person in the audience is writing. Let me get to the phones first. Okay, the person writes, "Good evening. Chris, the wind of change is blowing in Africa, and Cameroon will be the next very soon." All right. I see Sierra Leoneans are saying so. Gabonese, Nigerians are saying so. Everybody is saying so. Hello.
Hello, Chris. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Ground Zero, Meme County.
Meme County, that is K-Town. Maybe they call it K-City now. What is on your mind, sir?
What is in my mind? The first caller called that what is happening in Gabon and other nations is the will of God, because God controls everything. The Bible says God controls everything. There's time for everything. So what is happening now in this African nation is God's will to bring down those proud people. That's what God is doing. Remember what happened in the dark ages, that God brought Nebuchadnezzar down. God brought many of these leaders down like that to prove to them that He is God. He's the one that put them there, but they could not even do the will of God. So God brought them down. So I want to ask you one question, Chris. When will school resume in Ambazonia? Is it September or October?
That is a good question. We leave it in the hands of the parents, because we think it is not the right thing to sit in the diaspora and dictate to them when they should send children to school. Let them follow the security and safety situation and decide. And if the fighters say it is October, let them listen to the fighters.
Okay.
Thank you for the call.
Okay.
All right, the phone line is open. Many people are trying to call, but they can't call across. Go ahead and call, please. All right, Uncle B, let me bring you on while we are waiting for the phone calls to come in. New military appointments in Cameroon the next day. The very day after the coup in Gabon. What do you think is in their mind making these changes?
On our ways, and now it's positioning. They know that it's on their doorsteps. And what do we do with this situation? And you will see them panicking and running and making changes. Anybody that they doubted his allegiance to Pobia is being sent away. And he whom they think is going to be yes sir, they're bringing in. That's why this is happening. It should tell you the panic and the concerns that they have. Let me throw something here that my comrades said about these people. Sons taking over from fathers. This thing is an imposition. It's never the will of the people. They impose the son on the people. See what happened in Chad. The French military when they were taking over, they were there to graze the guy who was coming in. Okay, when this guy died has just been overthrown, were they not there when he was taken over from the dad? Did they go to intervene? They impose them on the people, and since the people do not have the means to resist until the people that have the gun can think it necessary to do it, people would can only go to the street. Like we did on September 22nd, October 1st, 2017. 2017. That was the will of the common man on the street. But do they have the means to stand up? If the military is coming with a gun, they can stand. There's nobody on earth who will not fear death. So what I'm trying to say, these people will come with guns and impose something on people, and then you will not have the means to say, I have to defend myself, to say, no, it cannot happen. So
right.
most of these songs...
Hold on a second. Let's get to this caller here. Hello. Oh, okay, go on, please. The caller dropped.
Yeah, I was trying to say that sometimes these people are forced onto you, whether you like it or not. They come with the barrel of the gun, they work with the people in administration, and with the military to do that will give their blessing. That's why you see this is what is happening, because the military has refused to give their blessing to what is happening in Gabon. And they say, no, we cannot allow this happen. But if they were not prepared to do this guy would have been imposed or win another term of it by the rigging that just took place. And the common man will not have the means to say this must stop. Until the people like our fighter will say, no, this has to stop. Can that happen? Secretary, you realize that with our struggle, even though our people are still 100% for, if we did not have this fighter that are holding the gun, stay in the bush and do this, and maybe we would not have still be here today. But with the gun and the power that God gives to them, and the bravery of our boys, they're able to stand the test, and we are where we are today until we get to boy.
Well, I'd like to thank you for being part of the show today. We look forward to having you again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round this up. Uncle B, once more, thank you for coming on, sir, for being part of the show. Unless you have something else you'd like to add before you go.
No, I want to add this to my people from Bazona and Comrade Chris. Well, this sort of awakened call to those who are already having. I'm very impressed with the turnout we have today and the other day and today. I'm going to think that if somebody was thinking something otherwise, other people are following our cue, and it will not be us to abandon our case on the way because of little differences. Let's be ourselves. All that we need is independence, and fight it on until the finish. Because if we don't, and I repeat, if we don't, I'm sorry. Everybody can imagine what I'm imagining. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Comrade Mark, let's talk about something briefly before you go. You will be in our town hall tomorrow. Adjust your camera, please. You will be in our town hall tomorrow for the special Zoom town hall that we have called or organized. We will be discussing, one of the things we're going to be discussing tomorrow will be the efforts being made in the background to bring Ambazonian nationalist groups together to work in a collaborative manner. If you can just for maybe 1 minute give us a brief summary of the things that you're going to be sharing with us tomorrow, we appreciate that.
Thank you, Comrade Chris. You can hear me, I bet.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about providing more information to our people about the ongoing consultations. We started out with the first consultative meeting in Maryland. The people there turned up and they empowered the team to continue with the consultations and to set up an inclusive body to continue to carry on that work. And that they want to see inclusion. They want to make sure that it is grassroots and that it involves hearing the voices of all Ambazonians, both on the ground, wherever they may be, ground 1, ground 2, ground 0, and across the diaspora, Asia, America, Europe, and they want to see that work continues because it's what they think has been missing. And to see that collaborative spirit fostered within even the way that the work is conducted, I think is something that we're going to be sharing more about tomorrow. And we're also going to be just telling people all of the ways in which they can participate in this, including the ways in which their organizations that they militate with and belong to, what their role is, what the role that they play in this is. For example, many would not know that the interim government is very supportive of these efforts, as well as many other organizations, Team Ambazonia, many different organizations around the Ambazonia sphere are supportive of this initiative. So we want to share those types of things so people can know that this is a robust new approach.
All right. Thank you, Comrade Mike. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the broadcast today, sir.
Thank you for having me, Comrade Chris.
All right. Thank you. Good night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, we are having a very special come together tomorrow. All Ambazonians are invited to that special town hall coming up tomorrow. It will start at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, Central Time here in Texas, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about Washington, D.C., Canada time, 8 p.m. Amber time, and that will, I guess, will be the same time in London and Central Europe. Again, a very special town hall. We expect everybody to show up, including Ground Zero. Now, our Zoom link can contain only a limited number of people. When you get the Zoom link, make sure that by 7 or 7:30 you are locked in, because once the Zoom is filled up, it will automatically kick you out when you try to log in. But if you log in early enough, you probably will sit through the meeting. Again, the Zoom link will be open at 7 p.m. Look for the Zoom link. If you can't find it, ask for people in different fora so they can extend it to you. 8 p.m. Amber, 2 p.m. Central U.S. time, 3 p.m. Eastern U.S. and Canada time, and I guess it's the same I think it's the same time in Europe, London especially, 8 p.m. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Do not forget, we are introducing news here at ABS TV come September 11. Look out for that. Also, please visit our YouTube page. ABS Africa TV is our name on YouTube. Go there, subscribe, so that every time we post up live events like this, you can receive notifications. And also, if you have Roku, many of you do, you can watch ABS 24/7, just like on satellite. Those on satellite in Africa will watch us 24/7. And if you have Roku, you can watch us also 24/7 on Roku. So please, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to being with you tomorrow. And if you are from Nigeria, from the Congo, from Sierra Leone, wherever you come from, feel free to join and go and subscribe on ABS channel. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you. Have a great night.